Hello, and welcome to another episode of In the Cool of the Day. This show is designed to inspire you to live the life God designed for you. I am your host, Malika Staar Carey, and today, as always, we are conducting God's business God's way. Today, I would like to welcome my dynamic entrepreneurs to the table. He has been in business for more than 20 years and a superstar architect, and he is my mentor, prayer partner, and good friend. Welcome with me, Mr. Robert George. Welcome to Cool of the Day.
Well, thank you. I'm excited to be here.
I'm so glad you got the opportunity to come. I want to let you know you are my first male guest.
Okay, well, excited about that too.
Usually,
let's make it something different and exciting. Then.
Right, because usually it's always girl chat around here. So
okay, I'm glad you let me know that.
right. But I love to be able to bring different variety to our guests because our show is designed to inspire all people, walks of life, to live out their best dreams.
Absolutely.
So tell us a little bit about Robert George.
Okay, well, where do I start? I am an architect by profession.
Great.
I'm a member of two great branches of Zion, the City of Praise Family Ministries and First Baptist Church of Glenarden.
Okay.
And so right now I build buildings for First Baptist Church of Glenarden, which I previously did for City of Praise.
Right.
Right, because most of the buildings that are on that campus, I had something to do with the design and construction of those as well.
Which is a great task because our buildings, we have one of the largest church campuses on the East Coast.
Absolutely, and still do.
And still do, right, along with our residences. Were you a part of that as well?
Absolutely, senior citizens, residents, Jericho residences. We have like 280 units
280
in that building, so we're talking some pretty large structures.
Right, and it's like 95% filled, which means people like to live there.
They love it.
The details are excellent. I've been inside.
Yeah,
I've been inside.
They love it.
Right, so how did you get to be an architect? Like, because that's not a profession most, let's say African American men decide to go into. They usually do, they're more on the construction side. You're on the design side. How was that for you?
I think my initial interest in architecture started while I was in high school.
Okay.
And it started with the mechanical drawing class.
Oh, great.
Right, and I just liked it. You know, I just liked it. And then when I got the opportunity to continue my education, I only applied to one school, and that was Hampton. And I was accepted to Hampton.
Okay.
And went down there and discovered they had architecture.
HU?
So, well, it was HI at that time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But went down, and so after that, I mean, that was it.
So you're an advocate for HBCUs?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. Now, how was it in the industry? So you came up in the industry, what, in the 80s?
Mm-hmm. You know, it was interesting that you talked about being a minority architect, you know, which is rare. And as a matter of fact, one of the things that really impressed me to inspire other people to really look at this profession was when we were acknowledged as registered architects in the United States, the entire United States of America. We all fit on a poster.
Oh, wow.
And that was such a profound revelation for me. We actually all fit on a poster. But I think that's something that, you know, over the years has improved. That we do have, you know, certainly we have plenty of minority and professionals.
Engineers.
Yeah. Engineers, architects, everything. Yeah.
Great.
Builders. Right.
I'm so glad in this.
And I work with everybody, so. You know.
Right, you do. You do.
Right,
you do. You're a people person.
Right. I just love people.
You get along with everybody.
Everybody.
So I want to talk a little bit more about the profession. So because also I want to inspire our young people to start looking at STEM programs. So part of architecture is that math, science, technology. What would you tell a young person who might be looking into architecture classes they should study in?
Well, I would say don't be scared of the math. You know, because that's the first thing everybody talks about, how much math is involved in architecture, and that's true.
Right.
But the thing about architecture and engineering is the math is very specific,
Right.
you know, to engineering calculations and things like that. So while it is heavy in math, you know, it's limited to certain calculations, and once you wrap your head around that, you know, you'll
So
be
don't
good.
be afraid of it.
Don't be afraid.
Don't be afraid
Right,
of it.
right.
Right.
Not at all.
Right. So let's talk. Let's go back and rewind. You said you're a member of 2 great churches. Now I know about City of Praise because that's where I know you from.
That's
right.
right. 35 years.
35 years.
At
you're-
least with me. Yeah.
Right, an elder in the ministry. You also teach our spiritual protocol class. Sorry, I missed class on Monday, but you teach this dynamic class on spiritual protocol. Tell us, what is spiritual protocol and why is it important as a Christian that we have that solid foundation?
Okay, well, spiritual protocol is all about the law of order.
Okay.
Everything has to be done decently and in order. And it's also understanding authority.
Okay.
All authority comes from God, and everything that you do is governed by authority. And then you can't be in authority if you can't be under authority.
Right.
So it's just some foundational biblical teachings in those areas,
Right.
and the consequences of disobedience and things like that.
So there's consequences for
Oh, you better
disobedience?
believe it.
Really?
The Word of God says that, what is it? It's as the sin of witchcraft, punishable by death.
So are you
That's pretty
saying
tough.
that even as adults we can't live life any kind of way?
Absolutely not.
Why? What happened?
Well, I mean, in anything that you do, there's consequences. You know, if I decide to put myself under the law of gravity,
You're gonna fall down.
I'm gonna fall down.
Right. Right.
And it's the same thing with all of the other laws. You know. Yeah.
So how would you encourage?
But thank God for grace.
Right, for
And the wonderful-
grace.
wonderful
right.
thing.
How would you encourage somebody who might find themselves in a position where sometimes I think as adults we don't see ourselves as being disobedient because that's like as a child, it's something I would say to my son, stop being disobedient, you know. But how would you tell an adult that may have lost their way? How would you gravitate them back into the order of God or explain the order of God to somebody who is not saved?
Yeah, that's really a great question, because if you really think about it, a lot of the folks that refuse to come to God, the reason is because they think that they can't come back to God. So the first thing that I would say is you can always come back to God.
Right.
God is always, you know,
So there's
willing
nothing
and able.
There's nothing you've done so bad that would keep God from accepting you as His own.
Not at all.
Right.
We do that to each other, but God doesn't do that to us. And that's not to say that there are not consequences to our actions. There's going to be things that, you know, if we you know, live a crazy life and then crazy happens, that's the result of it. But God is not through with us yet, you
Right.
know, and He can always turn things around if we're willing. Yeah,
So that's the key word right there about being willing, right? So you have to give your heart.
absolutely. You got to turn your will over to the perfect will of God, and He'll tell you, you know, where we got to go with it.
Now that's a crazy question because me and my mom was just having that discussion about will. God's will, our will. Don't inject our will onto God's will. How would you explain God's will over our will? Or even define what is will?
Well, will is our ability or willingness to respond.
Okay.
Right?
Right.
And you know, God's will is what He wants to do. My will is what I want to do. And God's will is a perfect will. My will tends to be a flawed will.
Right.
And but when you really wrap your head around it, God is a gentleman, right? And so He's never going to impose His will upon you. You have to be a willing participant, you know, in the perfect will of God. First you hear from Him, He says, go, I go. So now I'm in the perfect will of God.
Right.
If he says go and I'm saying I don't go, then I'm operating in my will and against his. So it's simple. It's really simple.
It's really
concept.
simple.
Very,
it's like a
very
no-brainer.
simple.
It's
Yeah.
like a no-brainer. So me and one of my other guests, Miss Tina Harmon, we were talking about spiritual surgery. Like once we give our lives to Christ, because we always go through this fashion when people come to church, they give their lives to Christ, and then all of a sudden they expect for their lives to instantly change. And so we talk about a spiritual surgery in the process. And would you say that sometimes it takes us a little bit of time for our will to line up with God's will?
Absolutely, and I think that's best explained through really what's prevalent throughout the Word of God, and that's seed time and harvest, right? But a lot of folks look at it as seed time, harvest time. The way that I look at it is that you have seed, you have harvest, and then time is between the two of them. Right? So once that seed is planted, you're not going to get the harvest immediately. There's time in there, and there's a process that has to take. And I like to look at it as a journey, right? And the best thing, some of us embrace the journey, some of us resent the journey, but if we embrace the journey, it's just a smoother transition.
Right.
Because that's what it is. It's a transition. It's a process. So we embrace the journey through the process. And it,
and it makes for an easier transition.
It makes for an easier transition. Right.
So we can make this process easy.
Easy or difficult.
Or difficult. It's all in our will and our desire.
Exactly.
Right. So I would like to say, really quick, how would you minister to men? Because as we see, I'm going to take like 30 seconds. What would you tell a guy to bring his heart back to God? Because the church is overrun with women. We get this thing. It's the men that seem to have the problem. What would you tell them really quick? Oh, well, you know what? Let's hold that thought. We'll be right back because we have to take a quick station break. But when we come back, I want you to answer that question of how do you minister to a man and get men excited about God? Especially men who don't have relationships with their fathers, because I think they equate the heavenly father to their natural father. But when we come back, we'll talk about that. But I also want to talk about your wife and family life. And then we want to talk about being an entrepreneur, because you're also an entrepreneur. So we are going to take a quick pause and we'll be right back. Don't you go anywhere. When we return, we're going to dive into the blueprints of success from Robert George. Thank you so much. Welcome back, and you're watching In the Cool of the Day. And today we are talking God's design for the perfect business and a perfect family. We are joined by Robert George, who is here, and he's going to continue our conversation on God's blueprint for our success. He is an architect by trade, but he's also an entrepreneur. He's a family man, and so we're going to talk about those things now. So before we left, we were talking about being able to minister to the man or men, and how do we get men to start surrendering their hearts to God? Because like I was saying before our break, the church is overrun with women. Like we're there. We're the dominant, I guess, species when it comes to church, especially when it comes to single moms, because I think we found that we need God to help us in this process. But how do you speak to the broken man?
Okay, and I'm glad we had a break to give that one some thought, because it's truly, I think, just as individual as, I don't think there's any one set solution to this. First of all, you have to find out where folks are. You have to meet them where they are. And very often we try to create, we try to address real personal individual things with some kind of boilerplate approach, and that just doesn't work. So we just have to see where people are. We meet you where you are, and find out exactly what kinds of things are, maybe perhaps hindering that relationship. And then once you do that, then I think that it's easier to start talking about what God can do for you. So that would be it. Our ministering has to first identify what the need is. And then once we identify what the need, that's when we can really bring folks in.
Right.
We're not beating up people with Jesus, I'm like,
right. We beat them over the head with the Bible.
Right,
come to church.
Right. Come to church.
Come to church. You need to be in church.
No, that doesn't work.
Right.
It's never going to work. That doesn't work with anybody.
Right.
Yeah. So, but we find out what the need is, and then we show how God can meet that need.
Okay. And also, by the way we live our lives. So I know you for now about 20 years, so I've got to observe the life you live. And let's talk about your beautiful wife of now how many years?
38 years, 39 this year.
39 years.
Yeah, 39 this year.
39 years. And I've heard you get in front of class and say the best thing that ever happened to me in my life.
I love me some Diane George.
was Jesus and Diane, right?
First Jesus and second Diane.
And then
the best things that happen. Yeah, and that every opportunity I get, I always share this. Diane and I have known each other since the 3rd grade.
Wow.
So see, we went to elementary school in Washington, D.C., Payne Elementary School. Was that 15th and D Street Southeast. Right. So we've known each other for a long time.
Right.
And of course, a lot of things occurred between the 3rd grade and when we finally got married.
That seed time and harvest.
Yeah, a lot of things when, and distraction.
Right.
But now we have,
So did you know
together.
in 3rd grade you were going to marry her? Because she seems to tell the story.
I didn't. She did.
You carried her books home from school,
and she told her daddy that she was going to marry me when we went to 3rd grade. Isn't that ridiculous?
Right. Because you carried her book home
knows,
from school.
Well, what do you even know about that?
You might need to teach a protocol class. I don't think guys are carrying books home from school anymore, as many books as kids have to have.
I was showing off.
You were showing off. So you liked her back in the 3rd grade.
All the way from the 3rd grade.
You didn't throw sticks and stuff at her, did you?
No.
No, right. And then you have 2 beautiful children that are now grown, so you guys are empty nesters, kind of, sort of. Right.
Kind of, sort of, yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But they're grown.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my son, we now have a granddaughter.
Right.
And so that's exciting. He's following the example that's been set. Family man, taking care of his family, raising a young family. Successful. He's a graphic designer.
Right. He actually designed the cover to the book.
There you go.
Right.
So,
he did.
He's good at what he does, and
Right.
we're excited about his success. Really
Definitely.
are.
And then Julian.
And I heard you use the term "perfect." If I may address something and say, I don't believe that anything's perfect.
Right.
Okay. Only God is perfect. Nothing in this world is perfect. Only God is perfect. And you have to practice at everything that you do.
Okay.
But that lie, practice makes perfect. That's a myth. I see it as a lie straight from the pit of hell.
Okay.
Practice makes progress. And if we're making progress, we can always celebrate each other's progress.
Definitely.
Right? And that's where we are. You're never going to achieve perfection. And so sometimes things look perfect. But in actuality, we all go through something. Everybody's going through something,
right.
And so if we embrace that concept of perfection, then how can we be compassionate with each other? How can we be empathetic? Is that the right word?
Right.
With each other, right?
Preach.
Yeah. So. Not preaching.
Okay, teach. You are a teacher. Teach.
Right,
teach, right. Because
so
a lot of people have that expectation of perfection,
right.
And then when it doesn't meet that expectation, the
That
disappointment.
that bubble is burst, and sometimes it can't even be repaired, and for nothing.
Right.
Yeah.
For a false
expectations, right.
of something only Jesus can provide.
Right.
Right. I like that definition right there. Take good notes, people. That was good. There's no such thing as perfection, but practice makes progress.
Practice makes progress.
And the more you practice, the further your progress will
Absolutely.
go. Right.
And if you're making progress, we can certainly celebrate that.
Definitely. Yeah. I think so. I think so. So let's go back. We also have a daughter, Julian. Beautiful young
Celebrated
lady.
the birthday yesterday.
Oh, happy birthday, Julian.
Yes.
Jillian. And she's also a praise dancer with our ministry at the City of Praise. But she also works along with Diane for liturgical dance for weddings.
Liturgical dances for her, right, for her wedding ministry, because Diane is a wedding coordinator. Best in the city.
She is.
Really, I believe it. I'm not just saying that, as biased as I may be, but she's truly, absolutely one of the best in the city.
She
we have an
keeps getting
office over
awards.
at the National Harbor.
Right, she keeps getting awards. And so she has like a whole slew from the Knot, from the Wire, and she's gonna come back. She promised me she would come on the show.
I'll let her come by herself too. You guys have girl talk.
So we can have girl talk and wedding talk, and for all our girls that are engaged or planning weddings, we're gonna have Diane back. But I want to talk too, because like you said, your wife is a wedding planner, so she's an entrepreneur. You're an entrepreneur, and you both run two different businesses. Let's talk a little bit about your business. So. Without saying the name of the actual company you do a lot of work with network marketing. So can you take a minute and dispel the myth of network marketing? Because you get a lot of that. It's a pyramid type.
Right. I'm glad you used that term too, because that's what I would like to talk about first. The pyramid.
Right.
And interestingly enough, the pyramid is the strongest structure known to man. Right?
Leave it to an architect to tell us, right?
Right. Out of all of the things, out of all of the structures that have withstood the test of time, we still have pyramids standing in Egypt to this day, right? And so it's obviously it's one of the just greatest structure ever existing. And organizationally, it's a tremendous structure. If you think about it, everything in business is a pyramid. The family is a pyramid.
Right.
The government is a pyramid.
Oh, now money is a pyramid.
The schools is a pyramid. Well, pyramids on the money, So it must be something to that too. I can't tell you exactly what that is, but that's the case. And so, but what network marketing does, it allows you to everyone to be at the top of that pyramid, and that merely means that you're the top of your organization. Okay. It's also an opportunity to start business with low overhead, which I think is important. The whole idea of direct sales is that everything is based on word of mouth, as opposed to television commercials and things like that, which eats up and creates overhead. Eats up profits and creates overhead. And so I really enjoy it because you also meet like-minded people. People who are looking to not only build their income, but build their personal networks. Personal development is big.
Personal development.
Yeah, personal development is huge in network marketing. And we have so many opportunities to have speakers come into us, that the company might
and big
sponsor.
Speakers.
Big speakers. Just to name one, Dr. John Maxwell, who I just love,
20 years ago, I saw Tony Robbins.
He's the leadership guru, right? Tony Robbins, right. We just recently had him at another event that I had done online, and so it's really an opportunity to expand your personal network, and you're able to have a business without the overhead of conventional businesses.
Right, because like Diane has an office.
She has an office.
And she has to pay rent on the office.
We pay big time rent for that office.
Because that's down at the National Harbor.
Exactly. But that's not the case with network marketing.
So you get to start a business with a low overhead. It is a business.
It's a business.
I also tell people
business.
to talk to their tax accountants, because there also comes that time where there's that tax write-off that you get from having a home-based business.
That's true. And the tax laws are really designed around entrepreneurs and not employees. And so in my case, I am an employee.
Right.
And I'm an employee that's been an entrepreneur for many years in personal business. As a matter of fact, for so long, I really wasn't sure I could be an employee anymore. But I did ended up, as I said, working with First Baptist Church of Glenarden as an employee. So I still do network marketing on a very part-time basis.
Right.
So I'm not one of those folks that have gone full-time, even though I see that happening, but I'm just enjoying it. I just enjoy both of what I do. I enjoy working in my profession, doing what I love, and then I enjoy the network marketing aspect of it, where we actually grow people.
Right.
And helping people, right,
Okay.
get to grow people. Yeah.
So I thank you so much for
Thank you.
stopping
Thank you for coming by.
in the
That
cool
time
of
went
the
quick, and I
day.
had fun.
I'm so glad.
Right. And
maybe you'll come back with Diane.
okay.
Okay, right. So we hope this show has inspired you to accept that there's a perfect design for your life. Before I go, I would like to remind you to strive to know more about your life and improving it. If you find yourself in a place where you just don't know what to do, look up. The great architect who lives inside of you has a blueprint for your success in life, love, and the pursuit of happiness. Remember to seek first the kingdom of God and all his righteousness, and all things will be added to you. That's Matthew 6:33. When you know better, you can definitely do better. Thank you so much for tuning in today. To find out more about what I'm up to and to follow me, you can follow me on Facebook under Now That I Know Better that's Malika Staar with 2 A's. I'm also on Instagram as Malika Staar. Until we meet again, it is always my prayer that God blesses you abundantly and that you know how much he really loves you. And so do I. God bless.